question, which is, how do we value a piece of land? Now, an estate agent would probably say location. A housing developer would say it depends on what planning permission you've got attached to that land, or something like that. I think it's potentially something more, which I'll come on to. But first, I think let's look at the planning system in this country, because it is actually a brilliant system. We've got councillors who we've elected, whose job it is to represent us. And if somebody submits an application, we can go and talk to that councillor face to face, we can put our case towards them, and they, having considered everyone's representations, will also get advice from experts, community statutory consultants, and they will sit together and debate it. It's an open forum, we can all attend, we can listen to the debate, and they will make a decision and either grant or refuse permission. So it's transparent, it's democratic, it's brilliant. But behind that, there is a whole framework of planning policy, and behind that policy there's a framework of planning law. And in actual fact, it is quite complicated and there's a lot at stake. The planning framework designates uses to different bits of land. So a piece of land that has permission for agricultural use can be worth maybe £10,000 an acre. If that landowner can get permission to pack housing on that, that same piece of land can be worth up to £1 million. So there's a lot at stake. There's a lot to play for. The process has become complicated and expensive, and local authorities are very nervous about the process because people feel very vulnerable. Instead of it being, with our experience of it, instead of us feeling that it's transparent and democratic, we often feel that development is something that gets done to us. And the story today is about a village which had this experience, and there was a planning application for a new town, 5,000 houses, just north of Cambridge, between the villages of Stretton and Wilverton. It was called Meeran, and they got together to resist the development. It eventually went to the Secretary of State for Communities, and the development was refused. And the local village decided, Stretton decided that instead of just opposing new housing, they had galvanised the whole village together, everyone was behind them, and it was time for them to begin to decide for themselves how the village might grow and evolve over time. So they formed a community land trust, and they began a process of engagement to begin to define for themselves a brief for development. They issued a call for land so that local landowners could come forward with proposals, and so they could then pick and choose from all the different proposals to find a site or sites that were best in terms of connectivity and the planning issues, and also price. So they could choose the best price, and they eventually settled on a piece of land which was valued for social housing. And the proposal was that 50 houses that were planned, 15 would be social housing, and the other 35 would be sold as open market houses. And the increased value of that could then subsidise the construction of the affordable housing. But also, through the process of engagement, they realised that the village felt there was much more that was needed. So the brief expanded to include a wild space, a little woodland walk that we called it, to go between the sensitive edge. It included an extension to the cemetery, because that was filling up, as they do. And there was also a need for more works unit. People who lived locally wanted to work locally and not have to commute, so we introduced some start-up work units. And at the heart of it all, a new village green. In some of those units, actually, eventually they decided to put a GP surgery as well, so a health centre as well. So it became a whole new expansion to the village. And I became involved roughly around about this time, and my job was to interpret that brief. And what's very interesting is that normally, if you imagine how master planners would plan something, very much it's looking at plans from above, drawing lines on a piece of paper. But we developed this by actually walking the site. People, dog walkers every day who had walked along the footpath to the river, knew those little spots where you could stop and take in the view. They knew, where the little shortcuts were down to the other little route that went in the other direction. And so the plan began to emerge from people who knew the topography, they knew the lie of the land. We walked the sites. They scribbled on big bits of paper all around the table. We would have had some images of those. And my job was to interpret that. And slowly, patterns began to emerge. And little hierarchies began, and nodal points, you could see where the connections came together. And so this is how the plan actually sort of started to take shape. They were also asked to identify the streets in the village that they liked the most. And my job was to go and try and analyse why those streets worked. And actually, you stand in the street and you think, well, the buildings are nice. But actually it's a lot more layered. It's about the scale of the buildings, how they address the public realm, how cars are accommodated, whether people feel safe walking there or not, and things like that. So we had to try and learn from that and transport that into the new development. And what was really interesting is that very often working with clients, what they're interested in what's it going to look like. They're interested in the solid elevation of the building, things like that. But over here, the focus became not so much on the solid, but on the voids. It was the open space that people were interested in. What's the public realm feel like? How does it connect to the existing village? How can it feel like it all flows naturally one to the other? And I think that it was a very interesting way of thinking about how space can grow and evolve, because what really worked was the connections and how the village sits in the landscape, how it's viewed from the countryside, how all those interrelations work. So I think it's been a fantastic process, and it's still ongoing. The first residents have just moved in, and we've now moved on to another phase. Ultimately, we're now looking at 75 houses, and it might be even more. But what is interesting is that this whole process has been funded by the increase in value that has come with the planning commission. But that would never have happened if it didn't have the buy-in from the community. So it's become a sort of circular thing. And instead of a land speculator or a developer being able to take that increase in value that the planning system realises and walk away with it, that increase in value has been reinvested back into the community in the form of these social, or not just social, but sort of community assets. And that has then reinforced that community both by the process, which has involved everyone getting together, meeting in countless events where people came to have a look at the plans and contribute and feed into them. But now they can see and they can feel like they are actually in control of how the village should move forward. So the first question, how do we value the piece of land? I think a lot of it's got to do with the quality of the relationships that exist in that place. If we move into a new place, we don't just nurture the garden. We put plants out between the front door and the street. We are giving something back to the street. We look out and get to know the neighbours, just like you've done. And we meet with the parents on the school run, we chat at the school gate, and we're not just building friendships, we are also spending money, earning money. We are contributing to those relationships, and that adds value to our society, our community. And I think what's great about the CLT development is that that added value is being put back in rather than taken out. So it's been a fantastic experience.